My previous videos are chock full of little tidbits and trivia about the show that are hard to pick up on your first few viewings, but... So what did you guys notice in the show that I didn't mention? Let's find out. 1. Little Space Case points out that the woodsman starts with an abundance of oil, but after a few choice encounters with Wirt, a lot of it is destroyed or burned. 2. Anime Pine Tree says that the bell is still in Jason Funderburker, the frog's, stomach, so the unknown was physically real in some way. 3. Bryn Burnett mentions the animation's attention to detail. Greg puts candy on Wirt's cape at the beginning of the episode, and it's there until the end. 4. Juicy Ogilvy brings up this line,
"You'll be no good to your brother dead."
I was never any good to him alive, either.
in which Wirt uses the past tense for him being alive. 5. Grace Bertita wonders whether the unnamed grave beside Quincy Endicott's grave might be Fred the horse's. Scal the shapeshifter asks why they'd bury a horse in a human graveyard, but after reading the comics, I think there is a case to be made that Fred might have been a human in life. Or he might have just have been a talking horse, who knows. 6. Carson Askins has a neat idea that the 3 question marks in the credits of the first episode is for the creature that Beatrice's dog turns into. Keep in mind that the name credited there, though, is the frog's voice actor from the opening song. 7. Sergio Cornaga brings up a couple of references. The song Potatoes and Molasses and the surrounding scene is inspired by Animal Crackers in My Soup, performed by Shirley Temple in Curly Top.
When I get hold of the big bad wolf, I just push him under the ground. I stuff my tummy like a goop with animal crackers in my soup.
And the episode Babes in the Wood features a lot of references to classic animation, in particular Alice's Wonderland from 1923, which even features reception committees. 8. Mariski Suerto suggests how everyone in the last episode is still in their Halloween costumes, meaning that in the unknown, time passes differently. 9. Patrick Knowlton says that Lorna was reading the Tome of the Unknown in an ending scene, referencing the name of the series pilot. 10. Mega Mushroom wonders whether the Beast made a deal with the cat Enoch. That might explain why Enoch and his skeletons play Come Wayward Souls. 11. Atomic Apothecary says that the eyes of the dog before he spit out the turtle in the first episode are the same as the eyes of the beast in the last episode. 12. Mr. Torg says that Come Wayward Souls may be what the woodsman was singing when we first meet him. 13. Omar Muhammad asks whether Smell You Later is a Simpsons reference. Simpsons did it. The Simpsons episode Bart to the Future, aired in 2000, shows that in the far-off year of 2030, Smell You Later will replace the word goodbye.
I can't believe Smell You Later replaced goodbye.
Smell you later.
Smell you later.
It's hard to see the phrase still being used today, but it wasn't invented by The Simpsons. It's a slang phrase that started in the 1980s and was popular through the 90s. I managed to dig up a Miami Herald issue from 1984 on teen slang where high schoolers were interviewed. Smell You Later was quoted as a New Yorker thing to say when the party is over. Might be a clue as to the time period Ward and Greg are supposed to be from. 14. Zurich talks about a fan theory that the souls transfer to the unknown either to have a second chance or to fulfill the duties they didn't finish when they were alive. 15. The Golden Garnet says that Wirt's war cloak grows when Jason Funderburker's on top of his head when they're on the boat. True. The original art for this scene had a different outfit entirely, probably an extra frog band outfit, but for simplicity's sake they just changed it to Wirt's cape. I don't think we were supposed to notice. Whoops. 16. Gaia Froschk talks about the markings on the snow where the woodsman and the beast had a fight. 17. Spooky Spook cites the Inferno imagery in the show. Definitely accurate. There's been some amazing analysis already done on the parallels between Over the Garden Wall and Dante's Inferno. Check them out. 18. Sugar the Idiot says that the moon is tilted in the unknown because the boys were sinking. 19. Rogue Pumpkin brings up Oswald the Lucky Rabbit and other classic Disney cartoons being referenced in Babes in the Wood. 20. Some dude points out the flute player in this scene. Wirt hands the guy his flute incorrectly and the musician rolls with it. 21. Jazz B has another reference I missed, the Lil Audrey cartoon The Last Dream. 22. Kendall Thompson asks what the black turtles mean. That's the one big mystery of the show that I have no hint or answer for. Good characters are seen abusing the turtles. Auntie Whispers eats turtles and is okay, though mangling it in the process and not eating the shell, but the dog swallowed a turtle whole and turned into a monster because of it. The turtles show up in the comics a lot too, but it doesn't give us much of a clue as to why. The only official word we've gotten on it is that it's an imperfection in the quilt. 23. Paladin at War says that during the tavern scene, Greg is actually feeding Fred the horse. This explains why Beatrice was asking him, "Are you wearing lipstick?" It's also shown better in the deleted scene.
Nice to horse your acquaintance.
You can talk? Why didn't you talk to me earlier?
I was bloated with all the rich food this little boy was feeding me through the window. Thanks, little boy.
You're welcome, but I'm still hungry.
Guess I was wrong about Greg eating so much. 24. Ashley Pizzolatto says that it's usually quite easy for clarinet players to adapt to double reed instruments. 25. Michael H. suggests some similarities between Auntie Whispers and the bees due to her eating the turtles. 26. H.O. Abel Aaron thinks that Maeterlinck's 1908 play The Bluebird may have inspired parts of the series. 27. Ryan Fondalis says that throughout the show, everything seems to be getting colder as time goes on. Even places like the mill were covered in snow at the end. This could be showing how hypothermia is setting in while they're in the river, or just that they're getting close to death. It's hard to tell seasons in the first episode, but by Pottsfield we see that the series takes place mid-autumn around harvest season. We see signs throughout the series that we're progressing into winter, from more obvious stuff like the frogs going into hibernation in the mud, to more subtle things like some of the song lyrics.
The wind here is ready for winter.
By the last few episodes, we're midwinter. The series was originally planned so that Wirt and Greg would return home around Christmas with no one having known where they'd been in the last few months. I like the hypothermia explanation though, and winter definitely represents death in the series. 28. Lily Wren is pretty sure that this scene references The Wizard of Oz. 29. India Borelli has more insight about the bassoon. Wirt's pretty good at it, but the instrument looks more like a tenorune due to its size, and it's too heavy to hold the way that he was playing it. 30. Trash Can asks if anyone else noticed that at the beginning of each episode on the title card, a different spot's marked out. The second title card, where it says the name of the episode, has the same little picture that was marked out in the first title card. 31. Cameron Davis feels like the Beast is a reference to Satan. One of the very, very early versions of the Beast was a goofy-looking character called Old Scratch, which is an old-timey nickname for the devil. 32. Cherry Red Galaxy noticed that Wirt's poem from episode 1 about being a ship lost at sea is brought up again at episode 7 when he and Lorna get a duet. It's also, as we find out on the For Sarah cassette, a common theme in Wirt's poetry. Some of his phrases in the show, like Endless Black Sea, An Indifferent Wind, are quotes from the poems he recorded for Sarah. 33. Sari says that Wirt's cape is a World War I nurse's cape, which may have been his great-grandparents'. It's true that a dark blue cape lined with red was used for outdoors wear for World War I nurses. That resembles Wirt's costume design a lot, but I'd argue that Wirt's cape is supposed to be a Union infantry overcoat with some artistic liberties taken with the design. After all, it's found in the same storage area as a Union infantry officer's forage cap, which is definitely from the Civil War and not World War I. 34. Mai Zeter insists that the girl in a cowboy costume has a crush on Wirt. 35. Raphael brings up a picture in Adelaide's house of 3 women. Adelaide, her sister Auntie Whispers, and who else? Show creator Patrick McHale has said in an interview that he has a whole secret backstory for her and Auntie Whispers and everything, but that'll probably stay a secret forever. 36. Captain Doggy says that potatoes and molasses actually taste terrible. 37. Patty Spitzer says that the Pumpkin King in Pottsfield is actually a black cat. Enoch. 38. XIOH42 identified one of the posters in Wirt's room, the Hereford Mappa Mundi. I never thought I'd figure out what this thing was. Thank you so much. 39. Alex Pluth says that Wirt's shoes aren't actually mismatched, just stained from a Pottsfield pumpkin. But the comics say otherwise, and we can see the different colors in the first episode of the series. 40. The Beast reminds Ink Jackal of the mysterious horned god Cernunnos. 41. Ivy Janelle asks for thoughts about the references to love in some of the songs, like in Cloud City, where they say, "Our words are filled with love, the sweetest lie," and at the end of the series, "the loveliest lie at all." Normally, this is when I'd look up the official lyrics in the vinyl booklet, but the Cloud City song wasn't included. I always heard it as, "Our songs are filled with love, the sweetest love." When listening to it with headphones, I can't tell whether the word is lie or love, but the rhyme for the line is, "We can send them down to you with a little shove," so I'd guess it's love. As for the loveliest lies at all, I personally think it's referring to nostalgia, how our memories of the past lie to us, but in a very appealing way. 42. Erish Septingo mentions the McLaughlin brothers board game cover that inspired the frogs on the boat. 43. Harry's talks about the comic series in which the old man in the mountain shows up, which might be a reference to a Betty Boop cartoon short of the same name. But Jim Campbell, the artist for that comic, has said that this old man is unrelated to the Betty Boop cartoon. 44. Zombie Cat 18 says that after Greg hits the woodsman, he steps on a tree branch and falls with his head landing on a log, both of which Greg had used to practice hitting him. So that's where the log came from. 45. Asked for an analysis on the symbolism of the potatoes and molasses song being reprised in Latin. To be honest, I think it's just because Latin gives things a serious or mystical quality. The lyrics are grow tiny seed, you're gone to the tree. Rise till your leaves fill the sky, until your sighs fill the air in the night. Lift your mighty limbs and give praise to the fire. Over the Garden Wall is brilliant at taking benign imagery, like deer, plants, and sleep, and turning them into something menacing. Even though Greg's voice actor is singing here, I think it's inarguable that the tiny seed is Greg himself while becoming an Adlewood. The seed loses its identity and substance as it grows into an adult tree. The seed's not going to stay intact throughout the sprouting process, and Greg's not going to stay intact once he becomes an Adlewood. It's chilling how the song, in an emotional minor chord no less, discards Greg like all he's worth as being the seed of an Adlewood, probably the beast's influence on the song. Rise is pretty self-explanatory, the tree growing to become a towering trunk and leaves. Until your sighs fill the air in the night is less transparent. I guess that it's referring to how trees exhale out oxygen and inhale carbon dioxide, making the air breathable for the rest of us. If that's true, the song's continuing to turn Greg into something useful for the beast as opposed to an individual. The song's also not pretending that this is a painless process for Greg. Lift your mighty limbs. Tree branches are called limbs, but so are human arms and legs, so it has a double meaning. The tree's growing and stretching out its limbs to sprout leaves, but it's also Greg religiously raising his arms to give praise to the fire. The trees, and thus Greg's whole reason for being created, existing, and eventually being cut down is to fuel the fire in the lantern. There's a religious fervor underneath these lines. The beast is literally farming Greg for the purpose of harvesting, and the song encourages the acceptance and worship of this. Adds that there might be more reasoning behind the choice of Latin for lyrics. Any ideas, guys? 46. Oat Sauce says that the size part is more the trees and their limbs creaking in the night with the wind, so it could mean that they want him to grow as big and as old as possible to get even more fuel from his tree. 47. Phantom Wolf the Greaser wonders whether everyone in the unknown is there because of a near-death experience. 48. Someone that will never be popular, I'm not being mean, that's the username, notices the kid with the duck mask at the bottom right corner staring at the camera at the end of the hospital scene. This kid is one of the incidental background characters, but I have no idea why he's there, looking at us. 49. Shane Fleming suggests that the opening shot is an homage to the opening of the Flip the Frog cartoons from the 1930s. 50. Kaylin Anderson mentions that the midwife was inspired by Betty Boop. Maybe so, but the tavern keeper even more so. 51. Abby Beatson loves the Highwayman dance and mentions Minnie the Moocher's art style. That style, called rotoscoping, is made by drawing over live film. Nick Cross, when animating that sequence, wanted to capture the eerie, uncanny valley feel of rotoscoping, though he didn't actually draw it over film. 52. Ryan Lester asks whether The Highwayman is a reference to the poem The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. It's possible, especially since the Highwayman's original design was definitely a lot more lacy. Fits the colonial era of the inn too, though that seems to be where the similarities end. 53. Hisha 1303 points out that the Adlewood trees are hollow, meaning that the beast's victims become empty shells of who they once were before being fed to the lantern, and suggests that the beast himself might be hollow inside too. 54. Kezia Bulalo thinks that the loveliest lies of all refers to hope or optimism, since hope is a way of lying to yourself. 55. Marlo Morbid says that the half moon in the unknown represents transition, making the unknown a place of crossing over from life to death. And Wirt being referred to as a pilgrim implies that he's journeying to a place where he feels accepted. 56. Giant Potts says that the three cherubs wearing clocks in Cloud City are a parody of the Campbell's Soup Kids. 57. The Blue Strawberry says that Greg's wielding a pizza cutter from Bloodborne. It's not a pizza cutter or a banjo, which I've seen some people call it. It's a foot warmer. Before the days of heated blankets, folks would heat up rocks, put them in this foot warmer, close it, and slip it under the covers to keep cozy in the winter. Like everything in the grist mill, it belonged to Beatrice's family. 58. Kelly Wilburn brings up the frame where we can see the beast's true form in the lantern light. 59. With permission from Lorne, check out their Tumblr here, I'm showing you their observation about how Wirt wasn't drowning after he fell through the ice in this scene. He passes out, but he doesn't cough when he speaks. Lorne thinks realizing he couldn't drown must have made him realize he wasn't really alive, which lets him get home after rescuing Greg. You got any more fan theories for me? Any more feedback or ideas I didn't mention? Definitely tell me in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
Smell you later.